Young Danny Fenton, he was just 14 when his parents built a very strange machine. It was designed to view a world unseen. He's gonna catch 'em all 'cause he's Danny Fenton. When it didn't...
All right, hey, welcome to the Literotica report. I guess that's what we're gonna call this show type thing. So, yes, getting into it. If I haven't mentioned already before, we are doomed if you're not already registered to vote. So, welcome to the loneliest echo chamber on the internet, pretending to broadcast live from the great northern mountain tops of northern mountain tops in Canada, legally armed and ready with facts and knowledge, getting day drunk on ideas. Today we are going to be talking about the somber topic of homelessness and how, there's going to be a few world news stories that we'll talk today, but the majority of what we're going to be talking about is just centered around some stigmas that I wanted to debunk. And we're not going to be doing any, earth-shattering conclusions today, just some observations that I have had that I would like to share with you. So, we spoke about this last week. There will, so far, will not be any, delays to the election or any sort of tampering, so to speak, with the White House trying to delay the election. We still should be holding the election on the normal day, just like we all think. So just hold your breath and hope that's the case. We choose to vote because we have the ability, right? So choose to have to have that ability, right? Have the ability, that's the key word. Democracy, having the ability to elect leaders is kind of a luxury for some countries, at least. So we choose to vote because you have that ability, not because you forgot to send in your ballot request during the deadline, because in many states the deadline was August 1st to request an absentee ballot, and any sign of voter fraud is definitely a red flag, and they've been raising them for the past three screwing up my words. I said this last week. They've been screwing with the elections for the last 3 or 4, so it's more important than ever to just bite your tongue, get a hold of a pen and paper, and maybe a printer or a fax machine, and vote by mail. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Fax machines, they make scary noises, but they're not that intimidating. You can do it, fam. You can do it. Okay, so jumping into actual seriousness news today. So we're going to be talking about some anti-homelessness, rhetoric that we see pretty regularly on the internet, and even from folks that you would think would be on our side among a lot of these issues. So a lot of the stigma revolving around homelessness has centered around our idea of working your way up out of poverty. So those who cannot do this have been kind of branded over time as being quote-unquote too lazy or not motivated to get out of their situation because of increased substance abuse, lack of spending ability, etc. We know that drug and alcohol abuse affects those who have onset inner trauma, or other reasons for those addictions are not often because they just love sleeping in the park. But, we would all love to just take a nap in the park or on a park bench if it didn't land you arrested, or worse, based on how you look while napping. So the perception of homeless people has stigmatized the use of public spaces in a lot of what I've noticed in, I guess, what we call Western culture, resulting in a battle between who is entitled to these public spaces and for what and for how long. So in Canada is one of those countries where it's kind of normal to use public spaces for festivals, birthdays, celebrations, private and both government-related activities. Taking a nap in the local park, of course, is not that weird, I'm pretty sure, depending on how you look, on how much stuff you have with you. It's not that strange if you're just having a casual nap with your nice stuff, and then you got like a photography thing, and maybe you're working hard. Oh, someone will come by and you're like, cool, there's like artists there. But you know, if you have one too many backpacks, you might get one too many side eyes as they're walking by. But why does it matter what you look like when you're taking a nap in a park, or even just occupying a public space that we're all entitled to occupy? So, okay. Homelessness is much more than not having a home. It's a total reliance on the city's resources that are not exclusive to, the wealthy or even the tax-paying. There are a lot of amenities that are used by homeless people or people that do not have jobs, or maybe even just have a home, or their home is their car. There's a lot of public facilities that we pay for as taxpayers that they benefit from, that the taxpayers that are rude and mean think that, oh, because I pay for this and they don't, I'm entitled to this space that I don't use, mind you, but they are not. They can't do that because they're doing the wrong things that I don't like there, and they're being too messy, and that's something we'll touch on later. A homeless person has the same privilege to shoot up in a park as a billionaire does. It's all just truly about the optics and how you look when you're doing bad things in public, I guess. So how an individual represents and how those around them interpret that representation. Some may see a drunk and scary man yelling in the street, while others see a sober man dealing with maybe mental distress that needs help. Real help, and maybe not being arrested, but, it's a slippery slope. I hate that wording, slippery. All slopes are slippery. I've said this before. They're slopes. Okay, so it's hard because you want to go up to strangers and be like, hey, what's up? But you also don't want to get stabbed in the face. So, mind you, pick your battles, I guess. We cry. We break down. We use substances we shouldn't. But for homeless people, it is entirely in the public eye to see these people at their absolute worst at all times of the day. So living on the street, and for some being addicted to something harmful, or even not being addicted to anything and having some sort of mental issue that causes you to have public outbursts, would regularly be private, correct? Because I know I've heard it in my own apartment. I've heard all sorts of yelling and distress, and if that was happening on the street, mind you, of course the police would be called and it would be dealt with. But I guess that's a luxury that homeowners get to have that homeless people do not, and that's private instances of yelling and crying and being an overall mess. So each of us gets to live our lives behind a door and under a roof. Every moment of our lives, including our trash, is hidden. Our waste is flushed away as if its existence is just non-existent. We don't poop. Our poop goes away, it gets filtered, we do not deal with it. But homeless people, they gotta poop, right? But it's a problem all of a sudden because it's out there, it's in the open. But I have to tell you, Karen, we all do that, and it's not pretty when not dealt with properly. So sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay. So our waste is flushed away as if, our existence as being invisible to each other is superior to, I guess, having existence that's in the public eye. This leads us to the main point that I wanted to make today. And you, as a consumer, or me even, I'm not even trying to blame you, the viewer, me, I make more trash than the homeless guy outside of the McDonald's does, for example. So let's examine how the stigma between how messy homeless people are and compliance with social norms is more important than the quality of life of other human beings. So, you've seen them. Scary photos of homeless camps scattered with garbage, tires, bottles, and glass, and worst of all, maybe even needles. You think that's horrible. Oh my God, I have to look at this with my eyes. to, it's leaking into the groundwater as well, and it's ruining the grass. There is so much grass and it's ruined. And what are you going to do about all of that grass? Mr. Homeless Man, you're a bad man ruining that grass and that pretty flower bed that my taxpayer money paid for, correct? Is that what you're thinking? Well, okay, let's dissect that thought process a little bit deeper. There was probably grass and a functional water table under the local landfill as well. But you didn't really think twice about, shoving your needles or tires or bottles or glass there, because we're supposed to do that. That's a social norm. We're okay with throwing our garbage away in the dump because that's where it belongs. It doesn't belong on the ground where I can see it. It just belongs in a mass somewhere where it doesn't get properly dealt with. So, at least not when we are having the conversation about how unsightly homeless people are. We're never really having a conversation about how to help them, and that's not necessarily what this video is even going to be about. It's just calling out this weird double standard that we're, cleaner than these people that, they leave needles and glass and tires and oil and all these horrible things in public where we can see them. But it's not like I don't have a bag of weird garbage over there that should probably be dealt with in a more responsible manner. And I like to think that I do sort my trash in a pretty responsible manner, but I still end up with a whole big bag of it every week that smells horrible, and God knows where it goes. So that's, I guess, the next topic of our video. Getting a little bit tired of talking. I want to take a short break. I'm going to prepare the photos that I want to show you guys of what true trash, I guess, looks like. So I'm going to take another break. Have a coffee. I am back now. I take a sip of water and we're going to continue on. So it's not that these homeless people who don't pay for the parks are allowed to mess them up. That's not what I'm talking about. But what you as my viewer need to understand is when you throw something away, there is no away. Homeless Hank is throwing his needles and tires and trash and bottles, I guess, onto the ground. Yeah, that's scummy, and I hate that because it's not nice to see, of course. No one likes to see garbage. That's why we clean it up in our own houses as well. And where do your daily takeout containers end up? They most certainly do not end up in this so-called away. We can't continue to use the excuse of how seemingly messy these people are as a symbol of superiority of the average household. It is just if not, the average household is just as, if not more, messier than probably the average just Joe living on the street. I'm not saying that's like a monolithic fact for every single person. I'm just saying the optics of it. You see somebody, they're lying on the street, got a lot of trash around them, and you think, wow, that guy's super messy. He's terrible for the environment. But, dude... Go to your local dump and tell me that that's not also a problem. That it's a problem your Facebook mom's probably not commenting on. Just go to any local Facebook buy and sell or local complain thing. You'll always find photos like the photos we're going to examine today of, just homeless people living their lives. And the whole premise of why they're sharing these photos is because it's scary, because they're messy, and messy is bad, right? Because it's bad for the parks and the dogs and the environment and all the animals. Correct. I mean, they're not wrong, but it's just, Karen, you also have so much garbage at your house, I guarantee it. So let's take a look at an art project by photographer Greg Segal. He instructed his photographic subjects to save everything from banana peels to recyclables and bring it over to his house. And at the end of the week, he photographed them in his backyard using 3 different backdrops. He created a water backdrop, a beach backdrop, and a forest, obviously, because that's 3 main temples, basically. Here is a link in the description for this beautiful art project, and we're going to be looking at it now. So let's just look at the photos. I'm just going to take a quick moment to organize my thingy. Oh, we're moving me. Oh, I'm getting small. Okay, well, I'm already all the way in the corner now. Ready? Okay. So, you, even as a middle-class serf, can afford to go to Walmart every week, buy 3 dozen individually wrapped granola bars with ingredients already arguably harmful to the entire world without going down that rabbit hole, carry them home in a plastic one-use bag, drive away in your oil-powered car, go home to your hydro-powered house, and watch satellite TV. And if you didn't know, satellites are what turns into space garbage. Finish the entire box in one sitting, and then shove each plastic wrapper into the bin to be taken away every second Tuesday. Homeless Hank has to buy whatever he can get his hands on, just like the average consumer. You know, we don't have a lot of choice for a lot of the brands that we support, but Hank has no choice at all. Hank has to rely on either handouts or whatever he can literally afford or steal or buy or beg for. Hank could use the garbage, but why? Hank isn't really thinking about the trash or the garbage right now. He has bigger problems, just like you have bigger problems when you chose not to buy that reusable bag at the grocery store, or how you have bigger problems than to choose to, entirely reform how you use and consume garbage, or maybe how you don't have time to fully commit to being a vegan because you have bigger problems in your life, correct? There's not everything is super simple for you and you can just uproot your life and make changes, correct? So apply that logic to maybe a homeless person who, let's get rid of the stigma of, oh, they're bad, they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Let's forget about that for a moment and just talk about the human who's just like living their life, eating food just like you and me. You have a little bit more of a choice than they do now, don't you? So with homelessness, it's not how unsightly they are, it's the needs that need to be met. Basic needs, not flower beds and cots in worn down gyms. They need bathroom facilities. They need access to medical care. They need fucking human food. And maybe, a garbage can or two. Call me crazy. I'm not saying I love how much trash is left around by homeless people. I would argue that it is annoying, yes. But I also don't like how much trash is left around by tax-paying, house-owning individuals who have a nice, shiny electronic trash can at their house that they could be using. But then again, we can still argue the point that when we're throwing our stuff in our fancy garbage cans, where does it go? It goes to the same place. It might as well just go on the goddamn ground. What I am saying is, okay, it's completely hypocritical to use that as a reason to discount their recovery or helping them or just even noticing them, because I think they're in public because they want to be noticed. They want to feel like a part of society just like you and I. You don't even know where your trash goes. Now, do you? So, before we talk about where US trash goes and where Canadian trash goes, without getting too into it, because I'm not a fucking trash expert, okay? I don't work for Fox News. We're gonna look at these photos. So this is the art project right here. You can see all of this garbage on the, I'm not sure what you'll be seeing, if it's the left or the right, but let's just, the one that I am hovering my mouse over, if you can see it, the one with all the sand in it. So we have this photo. Oh, sorry. And you can see that there's a lot of garbage in the background, like fruits, cans. It's not all bad garbage. It's mostly organic. Things that would be either composted or recycled, still consumed, causing a ruckus into the environment. And then on this other thing, you see this officer. He's looking like, damn, look at this mess. And this is in a familiar style tree if you live in the area that I live in. And look, there's all this needles and trash and garbage, everything all around. It's so unsightly, correct? Well, On the other hand, you see this art project where you see the photos of the women and the family all happy with all their garbage and the fun things that they bought this week. I imagine there's a lot of fun memories. I know sometimes even when I'm doing my recycling, I get a little nostalgic about the meals and the dinner and all the garbage that I've created. You have good memories with it. So in a way, in a sick way, maybe these people can look at that garbage in the same way. But we look at it as, oh my gosh, it's out, it's in the open, it's terrible, I hate it, they're doing bad things in public, and I don't like it. So in this next photo, you see just a nice, rich woman looking. I mean, I can't tell. She just looks like she's nice and wealthy because she's got a nice dress on and she's surrounded by all of her weekly garbage. That's the art project. You can see plastic, newspapers, all sorts of stuff that should be in the recycling or should be sorted or, just it shouldn't be created in the first place, in my opinion. And then on the other end, you see this homeless camp. Got tents, garbage in the background, but the majority of this garbage is actually looks like clothes, in my opinion. In the back, you can see some plastic as well, but you see this guy, he's like, oh my God, do you see what I have to deal with? All this mess. I am so ashamed. They're so bad, etc. Like, you can tell what's going on in his head. It's not like, we need to help these people. Oh, this is so sad. He's like, look at that. Of course, always messy. And then there's this girl on the right, or left. I'm sorry, I don't know which side it's on. And she's just posing nicely in her garbage because it's an art project and it's garbage and it's pretty and it's aesthetic and it's all these things. How is that any different? So then we have this nice couple or brothers. I'm sorry, I don't know which ones. And they're posing with their garbage in the water. And it's a little bit more tame because you can see that they are probably avid recyclers. They don't really have that much garbage. They have like plastic and stuff, but it's mostly just bags, bottles, things that could be repurposed into other things. And then on this side, you see a homeless camp that's a little less unsightly. And oh my, what is that? How do we get there? Oh, public resources. Interesting. So on this homeless camp here, all the tents are nicely placed on a government lot or a private lot or something of that sort. Everyone looks like they has their space. Arguably, I think there should be bathrooms, facilities on site, easy access for paramedics. Just like a normal home, up here you see apartments. I see basically no difference between how they're living in those nice apartments up there and how they're living down here, other than their tents don't cost hydropower and don't consume as much, just resources for the environment. Yeah, sure, it's unsightly. Maybe they put a little garbage on the ground, but at the end of the day, a lot of homeless camps are powered by solar power, mind you. So moving on to the next photos. Just gonna click through these. See, another nice, orderly. This is what happens with public resources. And this is what happens when people are kind of left to their own devices. It's a little unsightly. You see a lot of garbage. American flag. Here you see just an average family. They have a little sing stand, garbage, mostly just paper, balled up paper. Not too much plastic. But still, when you lie in it, it looks really similar. Then you have this one. This is just a smoker. You can see she's got a lot of cigarette butts. Kind of looks a lot like the one on the right or the left, doesn't it? And it does, doesn't it? It looks very similar because it's the same stuff. It's the same garbage and it's going to the exact same place and it's put down by a tax-paying individual. Doesn't make it any worse for the environment than a non-tax-paying individual, let's say. And that's not even a fair distinction because a lot of homeless people are forced to pay taxes and that's what bankrupts them. Okay. So I've run out of photos, but we're going to continue to look through this art project. This man is just covered in his newspapers. And if he was photographed under an underpass or a freeway, he wouldn't look that out of place in somewhere like downtown, now would he? But what is he doing? He's just napping in the park with his newspapers and his trash. Not that crazy, not that weird. Here's another one on the beach, more garbage, etc. I'm just hammering the point home. This is a wealthy looking family. Look at all the garbage they have. Looks like they're remodeling their house, which, mind you, is a lot more consumption as well. Consumption that homeless people don't have the luxury of doing. All this plastic, all this garbage, high-end magazines, etc., etc., etc. I could just go on and on looking at these photos because at the end of the day, it's not a lot different than the homeless camps, okay? These people have houses, they have places to put their garbage, but their garbage gets shipped conveniently away. So moving back into scripted commentary, I'm gonna make myself bigger again. Hello. In the U.S., trash is often sorted and left to, state by state to self-regulate trash allocation. Many times it's burned into energy, which, energy, but still burned, or heaped and not actually treated at all. You can see evidence of areas like this just by Googling the phrase, "where does my trash go?" followed by your city. There will be a result in local sites that tell you where your trash goes and what's going on about it. I guess I could link my city, which would be interesting. My city has a weird alternative track record with the environment. Even cities like Vancouver have kind of faked their way into being considered a green city by keeping, messy homelessness out of the public eye. For the most part, the city does a good job of hiding the downtown east side from tourists, particularly during and after the Olympics visiting the city. This led to the city and local municipalities opting to more sustainable development, making, more spaces for trees, etc., plants, garbage cans. It's all for optics, though, because when I lived in Victoria, an actually really kind of green city, very good at keeping things clean and green and knowing where their stuff goes, for the most part, without corruption. There was garbage cans everywhere. Like every 4 feet, there was a garbage can or a recycling bin. Every single establishment that you went into had like futuristic style recycling sorting that was more than just recycling and garbage. It had like categories for it. Every single trash bin had that. We didn't have plastic bags at the time. Very, very much just keeping to that solidarity of the island. And then here, I move here. No garbage cans. Like there's garbage cans like every train stop, which not very convenient. And the garbage cans are usually full, not maintained, and they need to be sorted through. And oh yeah, you'll also see a complaint from normies or people that have homes like you or I saying, "Oh yeah, whenever you do find a garbage can, there's always like a homeless man rooting through it." He wouldn't have to root through the garbage can if we had proper recycling sorting. The reason why he's going through the garbage can is most likely because he's looking for empty cans to exchange for money, which I argue is a very noble deed because they're like going out of their way to make sure everything gets recycled. So when they're doing that, or looking for food, mind you, also a possibility, Mrs. I have food. So these people are rooting through the garbage. They would have a lot less of a hard time, and it might be a lot easier if the cans were accessible to them. Because we know they're going to take them. I don't know why all of it. Okay, so the rule is as soon as something goes into a public garbage, it becomes city property. And taking anything out of that equals stealing from the city, which is weird because they sell their garbage to the US in this case, or other states or other provinces or other cities where it could be processed either improperly or more properly. They just, they deal with it elsewhere. So back on the subject. So the same townships are outsourcing trash pickup, shifting it out of the city or even across the border, like I implied earlier, to be improperly disposed of in the US. That's not the intention of the people shipping it to the US, but that's definitely the result. trash of the average human is abundant, and it's bad for the environment, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So I want to show you how similar, I guess, the average daily trash use is for a house dweller and what it looks like in contrast to the typical homeless person. I hope we illustrated that a little bit. I'm not an expert. I don't have like photos on hand. I just had to go on Google and just see, okay, this is kind of like the photos that I see on Facebook without, invading anyone's privacy and using photos that they shared, because they're definitely invading people's privacy by sharing such weird Karen stuff online. So I just took photos from famous articles instead of doing that, right? Because I hope that they've given consent to have these photos taken. So you can look at the side of the homeless camp. They fill their camps up with garbage. And then there's us regulars. We fill our landfills up with garbage. We're just consumers at the end of the day. I mean, they get to consume a lot less. Here's a link to the article that I used to find a lot of these photos as well, if you want to take a look and see what a landfill looks like. So, without further ado, one more photo slideshow. Gonna make myself bigger again. I mean smaller. Oh, okay, making myself smaller. So this is what it looks like before a landfill is created. This is a proposed landfill in my area. I can't remember if it's like a local municipality or if it's farther away than that, but this is what a proposed landfill looks like. It just looks like a nice, pretty green grass. So the article that inspired me to go on this whole tangent is this writer from Victoria was writing, of course, because they're a writer, they were writing about the Beacon Hill Park occupation of homeless people and how unsightly it is and how bad it is for the grass. Because apparently there is grass there that is very special and they want to preserve it, and that's why there's designated areas for homeless people to occupy, and they're not occupying the designated areas. They want to occupy the areas they want to occupy because they're free human beings and they're able to do it. But the thing is they're doing it in ways that's like ugly and unsightly, and people don't like it. I agree with that. It's unsightly and you don't like it. It's a park that I personally really liked to go to, and I wouldn't want people to be living there. I mean, like, it's not that I don't want to walk into someone's living room. I don't want to invade their space. I don't want to be in their environment because I don't like being there. It's whenever I walk across somebody or I get into somebody's like area or camp, I feel kind of bad because it's like I wouldn't like if someone just walked into my house. So I want people to feel like they can have privacy, but privacy in areas that aren't, also really special to people that have houses. But we have to remember that we have houses. And the local park does have nice, pretty grass in it, and we do want to go there, but there's bigger problems than that. So the framework of that article was mostly just, oh, it's messy, I don't like it, it's bad for the environment is so important. But she didn't mention once that, there's probably environments under the Parliament building before they built a giant building there, or before they decided to turn the island into a city, or when they plopped a bunch of high-rises down on what was probably grass there too, because Beacon Hill Park is just a plot of grass and trees surrounded by the rest of the city. I can't imagine that was the only place that nature was and they just had to preserve it. No, it's only special because it's the only place that you guys left without being untouched by ravaged capitalism, mind you. So think about the field. This is a nice, pretty field. The whole article that woman was writing was just obsessed with the field and how people living on a field is going to be bad for the field. And, her house is probably pretty bad for the field. That used to be there as well, or possibly the forest, etc. Victoria used to be a rainforest, a temperate rainforest, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that. I am not a geologist. This is what a dump looks like. I'm pretty sure this is a Canadian one or a Seattle one. So Seattle and Vancouver and a lot of areas like Idaho and etc. kind of like trade garbage because they're weird and they like to trade garbage and process it on each other's dime. See, there's a lot of plastic bags in there because we put garbage in plastic bags, oddly enough. So there's a lot of plastic garbage bags around that homeless Hank's house, and you're upset about that, Tammy. It's bad for the turtles, but you know, you still put a big old plastic bag into the trash can every other Tuesday to be taken away. That famous away. I can smell this picture. I don't really want to keep looking at it. It's awful. I hate garbage. Is that everything? There's definitely more photos in the slideshow. The heck? So this is a really, really small map I can't seem to make bigger of all of the local trash dumps. And mind you, these are not happy-go-lucky trash dumps. These are like horrible monstrosities to humanity kind of trash dumps that are all polluting, mind you. We are a green city, but not all the garbage is being processed properly. And the garbage that can't be processed is just dumped in a landfill. That's what it implies. It's a landfill. They take some land and they fill it with garbage. And that turns into... I'm not Al Gore. I'm not that cereal. It turns into gases and it makes us hot. And we don't like it. It's too bad. So look at all those trashes. They're not good. Don't want to be there. This is also what a trash thingy looks like as well. You can see the beautiful mountains in the background. The perfect, oh so sacred grass. And then there's just a giant pile of consumer garbage. I'd argue that's pretty bad for the environment. I mean, I know there's definitely a lot of articles about that. And it's a lot less sensational and it gets a lot less likes. But we have to remember that if you're going to complain about garbage use or how like unsightly the homeless population is in your local park, like, yeah, there's a few pieces of garbage and maybe some glass or worse, needles. There's needles in the dump too. And there's birds there too. The birds fly into the dump and they get their needles, their feet sticked with glass. I mean, there's not only birds at the park. Okay, I'm going off topic. I want to get back on to topic. Here is a link of a bunch of landfill data, a lot of locations around the US and how they use it and whatnot. It's a really interesting link. Website as well. I would explore that if you're interested in garbage. Here is a photo as well of my areas. Oh, never mind. That's in the script. We already covered that. Haha. So in Metro Vancouver and other communities, sending tons of trash to the US is seemingly a good thing, according to this article linked in the description. But in a lot of ways, trash allocation is a lot more complicated than, oh, our own cities should dispose of our own trash. I mean, whoever has the most facilities and the most capabilities should be the ones doing it. I just don't trust the US, okay? I don't trust them with our garbage. I don't know what they're going to do with it. If they're going to just burn it for energy, for this. Okay, so the question of where these people should go, the homeless people, these people, them, the other, should go, comes to mind. I battled this with, I guess, the opposers' entitlement to occupy every inch of the world because they, I guess, pay for it. I don't know. Why can you throw away your rotten box of forgotten pizza pops without a care in the world? And I'm not asking you to accept their mess in public. I'm just asking you to take some responsibility for yours, maybe? Or maybe when we're having conversations revolving homeless people, yes, of course, it's going to be unsightly. That's because they don't have the same ability to hide every dirty and unsettling aspect of what it is to be human like we do. I mean, we've had mental breakdowns at our own house. We have a lot of garbage. We poop. So we're not really all that different because people are also people. I know this is a crazy concept. I see moms posting these photos. They're not actually natural path hippies that live greener than green lifestyles. It's just your run-of-the-mill Karen who literally like survives off of ingesting fossil fuels. It's a scientific anomaly. I don't know how she does it. She just drinks gasoline and survives. But anyways, it's like, I don't know. It's never the hippie people that are having these conversations. The hippie people that are out there helping these people because they understand what it's like to live that kind of lifestyle and how important it is. By the way. So just look at these photos from that art display and see what you can spot differently from the average homeless person you might see under the train or maybe in front of the local McDonald's or even outside of your own apartment. The stigma is a result of optics, what they are doing and how they're doing it and why they're doing it, how loud they're being. The simple conclusion is people aren't homeless because they want to be or because they just love harming the environment. And we're not consumers because we necessarily want to be or because we love harming the environment. There's just a lot of things that are at play that we don't have time for. A lot of problems that are bigger than the problems that we face day to day that get, backpedaled and pushed to the back burner. You don't seem so somber for the environment when you're in your high-rise townhouse. Nature used to be under us and under that where you were and where our house is. The problem is the garbage in the park, right? Like the whole problem with the entire world. I know that's not what this girl's article was like trying to say or imply. It just, she worded it like so detrimentally. Like the whole world's problems would be solved if we just got homeless people out of the park. And that's so ridiculous that getting them out of the park or even putting them in parts of the park that you want them to be in isn't gonna make it better, lady. Okay? And still, if we're gonna talk about grass, I can't stop talking about the grass. If you read the article, you see she's so obsessed with the grass, okay? Landfills are built on grass. So, oh no, someone could see it though. If you dumped your daily trash onto your lawn, it would look exactly the same. Just as toxic, just as wasteful. But, you deserve to do this, right? Because the earth is your house and you pay taxes, right? You pay for the country, you got a card, an ID, all these fun things. You've earned the right to hoard garbage inside of your house and then push it outside of your house to go away. You've earned that right, and they didn't earn that right? Because they're homeless and they're bad and they do bad things in the public that you don't want them to be doing. They don't have the right to throw things on the garbage. Sorry. I'm just going on and on about the same thing. So here are some positive links to combat this issue. Just to get our minds off of things, to get us moving towards change, because it's not an end-all be-all issue. There are solutions to this. It's just the people that have these complaints and the people we elect and the people we vote for locally, they have all the same hive mind of put them away, shove them away, clean them up. Like that's what's going to solve the issue. So in 1992, a psychologist at the New York University named Sam Tsimberis decided to test a new model. His idea was to just give the chronically homeless a place to live on a permanent basis without making them pass any tests or attend any programs or even fill out any forms. So, okay, he says. He recalls thinking they're schizophrenic, some alcoholic, traumatized, and even brain damaged. What if we don't make them pass any tests or fill out any forms? They aren't any good at that kind of stuff. Inability to pass tests and fill out forms was a large part of how they ended up homeless in the first place. Why not just give them a place to stay and a place to live and offer them free counseling, therapy, and health care? Let them decide if they want to participate. why not treat chronically homeless people as human beings and not members of our community who have, you know, done something wrong? And his quote ends with, our community who have... Okay, sorry, I think I might have copied and pasted this a little bit weirdly. So, anyways, he says, homeless people basically have a right to housing and healthcare, and by implementing strategies like this in cities, it does work. And so here's the Homelessness in Utah First Solutions article as well. And because I am tired of talking. Give no fucks, take no orders, defund the police, and fuck the borders. No justice, no peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to my Politerotica podcast thingy type of you, whatever the heck this is. I am super done with talking. If you like content like this, continue to watch it. Have a spooky day.
No longer under federal investigation. Ooh, catchy campaign slogan.
Not to brag, but last election we ran a darn respectable campaign, considering we're a party of two people.